not going to lie, it is a confusing time to be a Liverpool fan. Like, even more confusing than normal, even more confusing when you read stuff that you feel like you knew. Now, let's just go through it all. Welcome back to Lawrence McKenna Channel. It's good to have you guys. Jude Bellingham is apparently no longer a Liverpool target. This is in all the big newspapers, especially the ones that all work in the same building. But then after a while, it started penetrating other parts of the press. And now it's just been widely reported that Liverpool have indeed cooled their interest in Jude Bellingham. Now, we can evaluate this, right? Because it's interesting to see the logic, should we say, behind it. The logic being, according to Paul Joyce's article, which was the person who got the exclusive, in the Times, Liverpool apparently found a point, and this was the point, weirdly, where they said, we had a strategy, which was to invest in high-class, basically, I want to say young talent, like only the highest, knowing that would cost them money. And then just recently, they've gone, yeah, we're not interested in those ones anymore. Two things are prohibitive. The price of them, which is Jude Bellingham. We always knew that was a high price. So I don't understand how that's new news. And then wages, which is apparently the other thing that inflated the package, so to speak. Now, some of you are probably going to be shouting at the screen at this point, but Paul Joyce pointed out that Liverpool were no longer interested in Alisson back in the day. Other journalists have been wrong. James Pearce has also been wrong at different points. Reporting all these rumours is probably a bad idea. Yes, there are elements of that. But also, are we not here to discuss what is news right now? Is football news like not a thing? Because it's being widely reported everywhere. And it's more that Liverpool are indeed cooling their interest. Cooling basically meaning what we've said on this channel for a while, that they've either found out, and this is interesting, that the player is destined to go somewhere else, which is highly possible, if not extremely likely, possibly most likely Man City, which I know will upset some people. I think Man City are well ahead of Real Madrid when it comes down to just the bidding process and also just where he wants to go, probably just because they're in the Premier League and also because of, the fact that they are more in need in midfield or will be more in need in the future. So evaluating his prospects there are probably also huge. Also the fact that they will be consistently challenging for a title. They will be consistently challenging for Champions League. If anything, he could be the finishing piece that gets them the Champions League, possibly for the second time if the performance, should we say, against Bayern Munich is anything to go by. But with that, again, none of this is new information. None of this changes anything that we didn't know just a couple of hours ago. And a couple of hours ago, a few people wanted to pretend that we knew that Liverpool had put in an £84 million bid. You think the best place to start for all of this, thanks to Caught Offside, would be an £84 million bid. Here's what I will say about the bid that Liverpool apparently put in today. Now, that was confirmed by a couple of people, and then everyone says, oh, well, Liverpool did bid, which means Jude Bellingham has chosen them. Number of different clubs think that Jude Bellingham has chosen them in this. Just a number of different teams thinks Bellingham is going there, right? So with that, what I would say is, if you make a bid, and then you're told that bid is too low, or the bid needs to be X, or any of these kind of things, it's kind of damning that Liverpool aren't more self-aware in this and that they've waited for such a long time in order to get to this position. Now, it could also be, let's put it this way, Liverpool have said virtually nothing about this, but they've said enough. There's been enough hinting, right? But there's never been anything concrete out there. It's always been people speculating, like me, like journalists, like all these people who want to build people up. I don't necessarily want to build people up and then knock them down, but you get my point. Like, there are journalists out there, it benefits a lot of these people to basically go, hey, Liverpool are getting him. Oh, they didn't get him. Did you see that? That's a failure. We don't know what Liverpool's strategy has been for quite some time now. And I'm wondering if the bid that went in today is as much about a misdirection towards other people we're bidding for than it is to anyone else. But I'll be interested to know what your theory is about that. Now, some people said with that, Liverpool wouldn't bid, because other people, by the way, did report that Liverpool made a bid, right? Other people said that Liverpool wouldn't bid unless they knew that the player was interested in a move, unless they'd had some sort of form of contact and consent from the player that, hey, I actually want to come, it's worth doing this. So there is a logic there that maybe Jude Bellingham at one point said, yeah, I'd be interested in coming to Liverpool, why don't you make an offer and see what happens? Liverpool maybe made that offer, and the sticking point is not so much the player. The sticking point is actually what the Dortmund want up front. Dortmund apparently want as much money as possible up front, and probably rightly so for a great player like this. Probably also in Europe's current financial climate overall, it's a smart way to do business. But also based on a number of different clubs out there at the moment, you probably just want to get as much cash out of people as you can. It's just smart. At the same time, he's probably the biggest midfield asset that will move this summer. Why not? Why not do something like that? But here's what's interesting about it. Jude Bellingham may at some point have wanted to go to, how can I put it? May have wanted to go to Liverpool, right? There may have been a point where that happened. There may also be the possibility that due to Liverpool's system, due to Liverpool's transfer system, they've looked at the cost effectiveness of signing Jude Bellingham and they've dispassionately said, actually, it's better to go down a route where we invest in 3 players of what we believe to be a 7 to 9 points out of 10 quality than it is to just get Jude Bellingham, because we need personnel in midfield. We need someone who's going to come in and be one side. We need someone who's going to come in and be the other side. We need a 6. Maybe they're also assessing what they need now, and they need more than they originally thought. Maybe the drop-off of a Fabinho that wasn't necessarily so visible last summer has become more visible. Maybe the drop-off of other midfielders, or the reliability of their performances, like kind of your Hendersons and your Milners, where you can't rely on them for a full 90 for an entire season, which I think is fair enough for players their age, right? On top of that, then the progress of someone like a Curtis Jones, who, let's be frank, has played in recent games, probably because Liverpool are putting him in a shop window for the summer. But then on top of that as well, you've also got people like Thiago, who you just can't rely on in terms of fitness week in, week out. Jordan Henderson and James Milner might fit week in, week out, but a full 90 for them is less realistic. A full 90 for Thiago, probably a little more realistic, but a full 90 over a full season, probably unrealistic. So the overall structure of the midfield needs to be looked at. And we're not talking about the way they play the ball. We're talking about just purely having numbers in that midfield. Because Harvey Elliott's been in there, sure, but he hasn't. As good as there have been elements of his game, I don't think we've ever looked at it and gone, he's a long-term fixture of a right or a left side of this midfield, and I see this formation working like this. They may have also found that, hey, the plan or the formation that we want to play based on the players that we currently want to keep at Liverpool is also not something that's going to accommodate a Jude Bellingham, or is going to accommodate a one-off signing of someone along the lines of a Jude Bellingham. So while people are busy terming whatever it is, hey, this huge loss, Liverpool have waited for 3 summers and all these kind of things, which I do believe they have delayed certain decisions. At the same time, I think they were kind of left shocked last summer when they didn't get someone like a Tchouaméni. I think what it shows is Liverpool have been naive in the transfer market, not because, the club is necessarily the worst club in the world or no one wants to go there, any of these things. They're still a very viable destination for a lot of top names. You can see that because Jude Bellingham hasn't made his decision. A lot of people haven't made their decisions until very late on. What I'm saying is, because they've had Michael Edwards leave, probably the best transfer consultant in the world that was available to Liverpool. Then, after that, other members of staff also left, people who took over, but also people who were just responsible for the overall running of the club day to day, and that was multifaceted. And that's kind of left Liverpool in a bit of a limbo here. Are they relying on Jurgen Klopp now to say that he wants these players? Are they relying on his coaching staff? Is Klopp more in control than he has ever been before of Liverpool's transfers? Are Liverpool skimping on the cash? Is this a signal that FSG possibly aren't as invested as we thought they were going to be? Now, that might also be for multifaceted reasons. It might be because they believe there is a big buyer coming in, say, in May or June of this year. It may also be because the way they want to run the club is more cost efficient than it is, should we say, success oriented. So all these things need to be acknowledged, right? Now, I, for a long while, thought Liverpool were on for Jude Bellingham. I thought there was a way that the players and the clubs could work out an agreement, but the price has gone up and up and up. I don't think his wages have really changed all that much, to be honest. Maybe other people have come in with big offers, and I wonder if that has influenced. Maybe there was a lower wage offer that he had before, which he seemed much more comfortable with. And now, should we say, if you were offered 350 to 400 grand a week, you would be a lot more comfortable with that. And maybe Liverpool cannot afford that. But let's face it, if that's not new information to me, it certainly shouldn't be new information to Liverpool. So that's what kind of shocks me about all of this and why this is sort of a thing tonight. It's been a really tumultuous, rough few weeks for Liverpool fans anyway, in terms of results, but also just in terms of what our future is going forward, who we're keeping, who we're not. Why put this information out there tonight? Is this to rip a Band-Aid off and basically go, hey, we're doing this, we don't want Jude Bellingham anymore? Or is it also to say, because I've seen multiple tweets about, hey, they want these different players, they want McAllister, they want Caicedo, they want Mount, they want a Leicester midfielder in there as well. I get it. Like, maybe you would sign a Tielemans if he was a backup player, but Liverpool don't need backups here. They need 2 to 3 starters in that midfield. And it can't be a Tielemans that becomes one of those consistent starters. Age-wise, not appropriate. Running-wise, not appropriate. Maybe they think they can change him. Maybe they think he's got more fitness. Maybe we haven't seen what it is that he needs to show at Leicester. Here's what I'll say about James Pearce. I think James Pearce in recent years has been a fantastic journalist. There's been a lot of good stuff that he's done, and he's been at The Athletic for a while for good reason, right? But he has been exiled in recent months. Now, some people say that means he doesn't have sources anymore. Sure, I understand that. He probably does still have club sources. Just because certain officials don't like him doesn't mean that other people don't like him. So we'll still have ins at the club. The other aspect is this. Someone who's not as committed to their source or needing to have the club on their side is a good thing as a journalist. You don't want someone who's trying to keep everyone on side, trying to keep everyone in the same boat here. You want someone who's going to be telling you what they believe to be the truth. But what James Pearce has said is not new news for Liverpool. If Liverpool have found out recently that the wages are too high, that's a joke. That's ridiculous. If Liverpool found out that more or different midfielders want to leave this summer, there's that news that Jordan Henderson might want to leave or could leave. There's the news that more numbers are going to leave than we originally thought. All these kind of things. We should listen. You should heed someone who's critical of the club. Not because criticism is always a good thing, but just because being critical of, A, the powerful people within the club is always a good thing. It's good journalism. But also, seeing your club as it is, rather than as we would like to see it through rose-tinted spectacles, is a good thing. I'm not saying, therefore, go out and say, FSG out, they're the worst owners ever, they're terrible people, blah, blah, blah. But I'm saying to be critical is a function of what we need to do in this story here. So just remain open-minded to certain people. And it's not about, I know it's easy to fight the fight on the timeline against City fans or Real Madrid fans, or whoever it is. That's not where the real win is here. The real win is seeing your club for what it really is. So I'm interested to know what you guys think. How does that work? Who do you treat as a good source? Can we treat any of these people as good sources before we get into this? But I guess what I'm saying is there is then one final option. And I think it isn't this option, if I'm being completely honest. Because in the past, Liverpool have leaked things to 1 or 2 journalists. This seems to be briefed across all platforms. So we're not just saying, hey, it's gone to one journalist in one big publication. Now, journalists have been wrong before. Pearce has been wrong. Joyce has been wrong. Whoever else has been wrong. It's spread pretty quick. Now, maybe that's also because this is probably the biggest transfer of the summer and some people want to look like they've got an exclusive. But the committal and the non-committal language is also important here. In recent weeks, we've seen Liverpool cooling their interest. In recent weeks, we've seen Liverpool maybe being a little less interested. This is very definitive language being used by journalists now. It is, hey, Liverpool are out of this. They have conceded defeat. They are no longer in the race for all these kind of things. Now, maybe that is a bidding process. Maybe it is something to do with, Liverpool basically just, maybe Liverpool want to grind down the expectations of Borussia Dortmund. Maybe Borussia Dortmund said, hey, you decide. And he said, hey, I want to go to Liverpool. I don't think that's true, but I'm theorizing around what would cause Liverpool to put this out there outside of just being out of the race. Broadly, I think the concrete facts that we have in front of us are Liverpool have dropped away from the Champions League. They haven't necessarily shown they can compete in the long run. There will be doubts around that. And in dropping out of the Champions League, they will also have dropped cash, which was probably going to be requisite to signing Jude Bellingham this summer. So I'm interested in what you guys think. Do you think this is big news? And for what reason? Do you think this is big news? Is it big news until we see him holding a Man City shirt? Does it really help the club to leak things now? Is there a reason the club would leak things now? That's what I keep thinking is, what is the motivation behind leaking something now? And the biggest motivation I can think is the club are either out or they want the bidding process to go differently. One of the two. I think the club are out. What does that mean for FSG? What does that mean for Jurgen Klopp? If the club are out, that must also mean they have other plans, which we've known for a while. All of this, when you read it, so let me just finish on this. When you read headlines that are being tweeted, when you read headlines that are out there, you sort of think it feels more real. It's like when you're told a relative has passed or whatever it is, but then when you go to the funeral, it's so much more real in that time, right? Now, I'm not saying, like, obviously, this is nowhere near that. But that kind of grieving process of this, realizing you don't get something, seems so much more real when you see a journalist say it, when you see other people acknowledge it. You can sort of do these mental gymnastics to work out, hey, we're going to keep him, or we might get him, or he wanted to come, but he couldn't. And all these maybe that will be the story that we tell in the long run. He wanted to come, but someone else bid more. And it's the oil states that have just got too much money, and we can't compete with that yet. Weirdly, because that would be unusual. Or needs changed. We didn't see this coming, which everyone did. And if Liverpool have a bad summer now on the back of this, I think a majority of fans will be this ownership negative. It's also easy to get into a mentality of we wanted Bellingham, nothing else is good enough. The other names, if the other names were to come to Liverpool or go to Liverpool, are insane. If Mason Mount goes to Liverpool, that's a world-class attacking midfielder / just midfielder. If Caicedo went, if McAllister went, if you had Gravenbach, if you had any of these people, these are all world-class players coming in if they do. So I think it's easy to feel like you've lost out on something. There are plenty of positives to take because there are plenty of good midfielders available. It's just not pleasant to hear that your club wasn't chosen or wasn't preferred, or it's not even that. We've not even heard that. We've just heard Liverpool have made this decision after apparently they made a bid today. I think the bid today, if there was a bid, may have been revealing what the situation really is and may have revealed more to Liverpool as to how progressed things are with different teams. And if Liverpool found out they're being led on in any way, they just move out. They're not going to be that kind of club, similar to an Arsenal, someone like that. And they don't want another Tchouaméni. So I think that could also be a real indicator here. I think it's difficult. For a while, I've been wanting to see the plans. What is it that's coming through for Liverpool? Was Bellingham in the pipeline? The way Klopp is talking, he's trying to encourage the fan. Did he know this for a while now? What are the different iterations of what could happen here? I've laid out a few, but if you guys got any theories, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure we'll be back on this at some point, and I'll see you in a little while. Much love.